Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sabina Toomey, and I'm here at the Forestburgh Town Hall in the supervisor's office with a very amazing, wonderful lady named Olga Parlow. Olga Parlow, welcome. And thank you so much for coming.
You're very welcome.
I've kind of always wanted to sort of pick your brain because I know you're a lady who has a lot of knowledge and has lived her whole life in Forestburgh.
I have.
And I wanted to first start and ask you when and just about where you born, not the date necessarily, but...
Well, I was born in Yonkers, actually, because my mother had family there, and when it was time to have me, that's where she went. But I don't remember living anyplace else except Forestburgh, you know.
Where did your parents come from, and when did they first come to Forestburgh?
My father came from Russia, and my mother came from, well, she grew up in Yonkers, and she came up here. I believe they worked at what used to be Camp Roosevelt in it's not Sackett Lake. It's really
Sackett Lake, which is part of Sackett Lake, is part of Forestburgh.
Right. And I think my father was a handyman, and my mother probably cleaned the cabins or whatever they had. I don't know.
What was your maiden name?
Renkovich.
I love it. It's a very beautiful name. So when you came and lived in Forestburgh, did you build the house, or did you purchase the house you grew up in?
No, my father at one time, we lived in old Bernie Klein's house at one time. I have pictures when I was a baby. And then there was a little house where the development is across the street from me. There was a little house. I think we lived in that for a while. And my father also worked for Mrs. Pick, so we may have lived there before we got to the Boy Scout camp. But I really don't remember anything but the Boy Scout camp.
Do you remember anything at all about the Boy Scout camp?
I remember it before it got sold to the Boy Scouts. It was about, I would say about 56 when it got sold.
1956.
Yes, about that. And it was, before that, it was called Camp Forestburgh, but it had stopped running as camp at that time. You know, I don't remember it being a camp. You know, there were a lot of outbuildings and a lot of open sleeping with maybe a private bathroom, you know, but... and there were some private houses that had maybe 1 or 2 bedrooms, and they had a living room and a bathroom and a kitchen, you know. There was a little variety of the way things were, you know, set.
I think it's probably because the gentleman who started the camp was a man by the name of Thomas Darlington, and I happen to have a picture of him. Probably because he was very prominent in that he was at one time the commissioner of the city of New York.
Yes. I believe it was in the 30s, yes. Right. And it was around the time of Typhoid Mary and all that.
Yes. There was an article with the paperwork from the newspaper at his death in which they talked about the fact that he was responsible for putting into law a lot of wonderful things that helped save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
And I have the script of a radio broadcast that he did for WINS. And he did that in 1932. Okay. And it was really a commercial for Camp Forestburgh.
Okay.
And talking about the benefit of clean air and health and good simple food. And that vacationers oftentimes came back from vacations feeling exhausted. So his selling thing was, come to Camp Forestburgh, you'll relax, there's fishing, there are trails, walking trails, good food. And then he even attracted businessmen by saying, there's a telephone and the post office not too far away. So you could still conduct your business. Do you have any personal memories that you'd like to share with us about growing up there?
Well, there were 3 houses that were occupied. One was occupied by Dr. Darlington, and that was off kind of by itself. And he had married a girl from Bisbee, I believe, Arizona, and she passed away. But he had a china closet that was full of like stuff you would get from Arizona, like a stuffed Gila monster and, different trinkets and what have you that you would collect in Arizona. And he was pretty old by the time I remember when he died. Because,
You got to actually meet him?
Oh, yes, yeah.
What kind of a fellow was he? Was he
I really don't know. I was quite young, But I do remember when he's died because his daughter came to pick up some clothes and she had to go back to the city and she pulled the hood ornament off of her car because there was a chain that went across the driveway so nobody could go in while they were not there.
Oh, that must have been a very interesting time. It's a beautiful lake in there. I only got to see it because I did something with Cub Scouts years ago.
I have not been down there in a long time,
It's a beautiful lake. Property, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you actually swim or fish in the lake?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Do you have any other memories of growing up in Forestburgh? What the town might have felt like?
Well, not really. I mean, my father didn't drive, so, we were kind of homebound. But, I went to a one-room schoolhouse in Forestburgh next to the little playhouse until they closed it when Monticello became centralized. And
what year was that? Do you remember?
That was sometime in the 50s. I went through 6th grade in that school, and then I went to St. Joseph's for 7th and 8th grade.
St. Joseph's Mountain School.
Yes, yes. And they were kind of upset when I left. But it was more of a college prep school. Yes. And I knew my parents couldn't afford to send me to college, so, I went to Monticello and learned how to take shorthand and type so I could get
find
a job.
Something that could help you earn a living.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of people that lived in the town at that point in time?
I guess about the same,
Okay. A lot of our neighbors or people that we knew or I knew about, because I wasn't born here, have since passed away.
Yes, that's true.
It's in many ways that's sad. But do you remember the war years in Forestburgh?
Well, vaguely. We used to get groceries delivered by Tom Murrin up around going to Monticello. He had a store, and then he
opposite Merriwell Park. Is that where his store was?
No. He was. That was pretty well gone by that time. House Alliance was there, which was a restaurant, and I don't remember going in except maybe once or twice, But Tom Murrin had a store about halfway to Monticello, and he used to deliver stuff by truck,
That was great.
With milk and papers and,
Do you know anything about the story of Gene King?
No, I knew Gene. I knew his father. His father and mother had the bar down by the country store, on the opposite side. And I knew Gene married, of course, he married Mary.
Mary Woods.
Right.
Need Toomey.
Yeah.
One of my husband's
Right.
relatives.
Right.
Yeah.